Donald Trump knows it's finished. He knows his administration is falling apart, and he knows he's falling apart too. That panic is exactly why he can no longer stay focused. At an event that was meant to celebrate Hanukkah, Trump talked about just about everything except the occasion itself. He rambled about his ballroom, went off on tangents about planes, struggled to get his words out, and at times seemed completely lost. What should have been a simple appearance turned into a total meltdown. We're going to break down exactly what happened and why Marjorie Taylor Greene may have played a role in setting it off. But before we do that, please take a moment to like this video, and if you enjoy the content on this channel, make sure to subscribe. It really helps support our work. Now, before Donald Trump even took the stage to deliver what could hardly be called a speech, a CNN interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene aired in which she sharply attacked Trump. That interview is where we need to start, because it began with her criticism of Trump's disgusting post about Rob Reiner. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
His supporters, including myself, we didn't appreciate hearing the president, who himself was shot, and after Charlie Kirk's horrific murder, we didn't appreciate, even if you don't agree with Rob Reiner politically, there was no reason for his statement to be the statement that he made.
Yeah, when he says, I mean, this was in the immediate aftermath of us finding out about Rob Reiner, and obviously now his son has been taken into custody. You've said that his murder was not about politics or political enemies. The president called him bad for our country and said he was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned.
I thought that statement was absolutely, completely below the office of the President of the United States, classless, and it was just wrong. It's a tragic murder. It's a family ripped apart, and from my understanding, what I've seen on the news, it was drug abuse and mental illness. And many families across America deal with family members that are drug addicts or have mental health issues. And I think the president should have responded with compassion and talked about those issues. He didn't have to make it about politics. And I think that was, it was really below what we expect our president.
While I understand the sentiment behind what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, it's hard to reconcile it with how she herself has behaved in the past. I know many people will say, give her some grace. At least she's speaking out. But to act surprised by Donald Trump's behavior at this point means you've either had your head in the sand, under a rock, or firmly planted somewhere else. This version of Donald Trump has been obvious for a long time. So I'm not interested in praising Marjorie Taylor Greene for suddenly coming to her senses. That's not something I'm going to do. What I will enjoy, however, is the fact that she's now openly going to war with Donald Trump, clearly getting under his skin and contributing to his unraveling. And she's doing it simply by telling the truth, not about policy, but about Donald Trump's current relationship with the MAGA movement. What she said here about the dam breaking may be one of the most damaging indictments of Trump's presidency yet.
Clearly also really tragic just for the Reiner family.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you have no problem calling out what the president said, but why do you think other Republicans have struggled to do so?
I can't comprehend it, but Caitlin, I'd like to point something out. Just last week, and I think the dam is breaking. Many Republicans may not have called him out, but last week 13 Republicans voted with Democrats to overturn one of President Trump's executive orders, which enabled him to fire federal workers. We also saw Indiana Republicans vote against redistricting. He didn't call any of them traitors and call for primaries against them. But I would like to say that that is a sign where you're seeing Republicans, they're entering the campaign phase for 2026, which is a large signal that lame duck season has begun and that Republicans will go in all in for themselves in order to save their own re-elections.
You think the dam is breaking and
Marjorie Taylor Greene has finally articulated what I've been saying for a long time. The idea that Donald Trump won some massive cultural mandate in 2024, one that would allow him to commit crimes or govern with unchecked corruption, was never true. Elon Musk has now become one of the most politically toxic figures in the country because of his alignment with Trump and the complete failure of Doge. Trump is feeling that fallout across every policy front, whether it's the economy, reckless talk of war with Venezuela, efforts to bury the Epstein files, or attempts to hide his own health issues. He sees the fractures forming, and it has him panicked. That's why tonight he didn't try to lead or explain. He just ranted and rambled. And it all began with an unhinged meltdown about his ballroom.
Soon you'll have a ballroom that's so big I can handle. And we just won the case today. Did you know that, Mark? We just won the case. We got sued. We're donating a $400 million ballroom, and we got sued not to build it. For 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom. And we're giving them, myself and donors are giving them, free of charge, for nothing. We're donating a building that's approximately 400 million. I think I'll do it for less, but it's 400. I should do it for less. I will do it for less. But just in case I say 400, otherwise if I go $3 over, the press will say, it costs more. I build under budget and ahead of schedule. Right, Jason? Always. I know how to build under budget. I build good, but we won the case. They asked for a restraining order to stop us from building a magnificent ballroom. I said, who would ask for a restraining? We're giving them, Sid, a $400 million. It'll be the most beautiful ballroom, and it'll handle inaugurations. It's got 5-inch thick glass windows. It's impenetrable by anything but a howitzer. It's impenetrable. Now, I will say, if I'm up making a speech someday, Mark, and I hear ding, 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 I'm out of there. But we have.
People are struggling just to afford groceries, while Donald Trump is throwing a lavish party at the White House and acting confused about why Americans are angry over a $400 million ballroom being funded by billionaires and CEOs, people who are receiving tax cuts in exchange for backing the project. And let's be clear, I don't believe for a second that this won't end up costing taxpayers money. It absolutely will. So while Trump celebrates with elites and complains that it's still not enough, he goes on yet another rant. Meanwhile, the people pushing back are the ones who actually care about this country, who want to preserve its history and don't want to see it further degraded and destroyed by a buffoon. And speaking of buffoonery, just listen to how utterly ridiculous Trump sounds here.
Fly those things the way they can aim it at a target in the dark of night, the darkest you've ever seen. They wanted to be as dark as possible. They didn't want anything. And the only time anybody could see those planes was when those bomb chutes open up, because it becomes totally unstealth when it goes. I explained that to Mark Levin once. You're going in, you go like this, and as soon as it goes like this, for some reason, the plane is totally visible, not good. And I watched it happening, and just, it's like I'm sitting home watching it. You know, it's amazing. The Situation Room is an amazing place. But I watched him go, bing, bing. It went bing, bing, and 2 massive 100,000-pound bombs come pouring out. And the job they did was incredible. I mean, compare that to, I thought he was a nice man, but compare that to the Jimmy Carter attack on. That was not good, with the helicopters and the men running all over the place trying to get the hell out of there. This was not good. This was the single greatest military attack that anyone's ever seen.
The plane went bing, 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 bong, bing. This is the guy who controls the nuclear codes. Seriously? I know there are always bigger things to be angry about, and there's never a shortage of outrage. But the sheer stupidity of moments like this is just draining. It's a constant daily drag. Watching it unfold is exhausting. And that's exactly why days like today matter. Days when we see strong gusts of MAGA infighting that have genuinely shaken Donald Trump's administration. Ari Melber broke it all down perfectly right here.
That is, again, quite the condemnation. One difference there is she may be putting the blame at someone who's no longer in the administration. But she goes on in this absolute bonkers Vanity Fair interview on the economy. There was a huge disagreement over whether tariffs were a good idea, some predicting disaster. She asked Vance to pump the brakes, but Trump went forward. Again, Vanity Fair writing, Wiles believed a middle ground on tariffs would ultimately succeed. She said, it's been more painful than I expected. Again, these are the quotes of Trump's top aide, and they are quite different from the usual defenses we hear. And they are more credible attacks on the administration, its policies, and some of its top members. Why and how this came out, why she talks like this, we'll get into in conversation. But I want to go to the enemies list here, because more than anything else, which might just be politically embarrassing, Wiles has taken action through these words tonight. She has given evidence and confirmation of an unlawful prosecution on the enemies list charges, which means what she says, because she's a government official, is now probably court evidence and could doom some of the cases you see on your screen. As for the Trump revenge plots, she says, I don't think he's on a revenge tour. In some cases, it may look like retribution. And there may be an element of that from time to time. Who would blame him? Not me. So that's sort of her warm-up. And if that's all she said, okay, debatable. Then, when Vanity Fair asked about New York Attorney General Letitia James, who the DOJ has now thrice failed to indict, she says, well, that might be the one retribution. That is a confession. That is potentially admissible in court. You have a top White House official admitting it's retribution. In case you're keeping score, retribution is exactly the kind of evidence that defense counsel needs to get the case tossed. As for James Comey, she says, I mean, people could think it does look vindictive. I can't tell you why you shouldn't think that. I don't think he wakes up thinking about retribution, but when there's an opportunity, he will go for it. This is meaningfully negative for the DOJ case and plan against Comey. If she meant to hurt her own side, okay. If she didn't, that's why some people maybe aren't as good at interviews. Wiles says she has a loose agreement with Trump that the score settling will end before the first 90 days are over. That was a planned deadline that he didn't meet because she admits the score settling continues. This is evidence of what is called selective prosecution, which A, can get the case tossed, B, can get other people in trouble depending on how judges view it. Wiles says today the article is a disingenuously framed hit piece on me with significant context disregarded. Notice what she does not say, and which makes her admittedly a little different than some around Trump.
MAGA is clearly breaking apart, and there's been a lot of speculation about why Susie Wiles gave that Vanity Fair interview. Maybe she didn't realize she was on the record. Maybe she was venting, or maybe it was a calculated power move as Trump's grip on MAGA continues to weaken. If that was the goal, it may have worked, because Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller, and Caroline Leavitt all rushed to defend Trump, calling it fake news and spinning the story. Even so, while Wiles embarrassed the administration, she may come out stronger. Trump didn't. Neither did his inner circle. The fact that Trump's own chief of staff publicly described him in such damning terms says everything about the state of MAGA. So don't believe for a second these people can't be beaten. We can, and we will. If you support that work, hit subscribe, leave a like, and drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.